Before we begin, imagine standing in a room where fear is louder than screams, where a single wrong move could end lives, and the calmest person in that room isn't the CEO in the corner office, but the janitor everyone forgot to notice. Stay with me until the end of this story, because what this one man did during a robbery didn't just save lives, it changed the world. And if stories about courage, hidden strength, and second chances move you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You never know which story might change the way you see the world next. Evelyn Harper, CEO of Harper Biotech, was known in the glass towers of downtown Chicago as a woman carved from steel. She had built her company from a small research startup into a global pharmaceutical leader. Employees admired her brilliance but feared her precision. Meetings with her were short. Conversations were sharper. She believed in efficiency, in results, in numbers. Feelings, she often said, were luxuries businesses could not afford. Every morning at 6:15 a.m., before the executives filled the halls with tailored suits and ambition, a quiet man named Daniel Ruiz pushed his cleaning cart across the marble floors. He was in his late 50s, with kind eyes and silver threading through his dark hair. To most employees, he was invisible, background noise in the symphony of corporate life. Some greeted him politely, most did not. Evelyn had noticed him only once before the incident. She had been working late, long past midnight, when she saw Daniel carefully placing a blanket over a young intern who had fallen asleep at her desk while finishing a presentation. Daniel didn't wake the girl. He didn't scold her. He simply made sure she wouldn't catch a cold and quietly returned to polishing the corridor. Evelyn remembered thinking it was inefficient, sentimental, not part of his job description. She would soon learn how wrong she was. It was a Thursday morning, quarterly earnings day. The building buzzed with tension. Investors were visiting. Security was present but relaxed. Harper Biotech had never experienced violence. It was a place of innovation, not danger. At 10:42 a.m., the lobby doors burst open. 3 masked men stormed in, armed and shouting. Panic spread faster than thought. Glass shattered. A security guard was disarmed in seconds. Employees froze, screamed, dropped to the floor. Phones slipped from trembling hands. Evelyn was in the main conference hall with investors when the gunshots echoed. Her heart, the heart that had faced hostile takeovers and billion-dollar risks without flinching, now pounded against her ribs like a trapped bird. She saw fear in her employees' eyes, real, human fear. And for the first time in years, she felt powerless. The robbers moved quickly. They demanded access to secure vaults, proprietary research data, and cryptocurrency reserves. One of them grabbed a young analyst, pressing a weapon against his temple to force compliance. Chaos ruled the room, except for one corner. Daniel stood near the hallway, still holding his mop. He wasn't trembling. He wasn't shouting. He was watching, not with defiance, not with fear, with focus. One robber noticed him. "You, old man," on the floor. Daniel slowly set the mop aside and raised his hands. His voice, when he spoke, was steady. "Everyone's scared. You don't want anyone making sudden moves. Let me help keep them calm." The robber hesitated, confused by the lack of panic. Daniel began speaking softly to the employees lying on the ground. "Breathe, slowly. Look at me. Inhale, exhale. It's going to be okay." Something in his voice cut through the hysteria. People listened. Their breathing steadied. Even Evelyn, crouched beside the conference table, found herself following his rhythm. What no one in that room knew, not even Evelyn, was that Daniel Ruiz had once been Officer Daniel Ruiz, a decorated negotiator with the Chicago Police Department. 25 years earlier, he had talked down hostage takers, de-escalated gang standoffs, and saved countless lives. But after a mission went tragically wrong, after a young officer under his command was killed, Daniel had walked away from the force. The guilt had buried him. He chose a quieter life. A smaller life. One where no one depended on him. Until now. As the robbers argued among themselves about accessing encrypted systems, Daniel observed their body language. One was clearly the leader, aggressive, impulsive. Another kept glancing toward the exits, nervous. The third's hands shook. Not hardened criminals. Desperate men. Daniel slowly addressed the leader. "You don't want this to turn into something bigger than it already is. Police response time in this district is under 4 minutes. A bluff, but a convincing one." The leader snapped back, but doubt flickered in his eyes. Daniel continued calmly, "No one here is resisting. You can walk out of here with what you came for without hurting anyone. Hurting someone changes everything. The room was silent except for shallow breaths. Evelyn stared at Daniel, seeing him, truly seeing him, for the first time. Minutes felt like hours. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. The nervous robber's panic escalated. He tightened his grip on the young analyst. Daniel shifted his tone, speaking directly to the anxious man. "You have a family." The robber faltered. "Shut up." "You do," Daniel said gently. "Someone who believes you're better than this." The man's eyes watered behind his mask. The leader shouted, ordering them to move. But the unity among the robbers was cracking. When the first police siren grew louder, chaos threatened to erupt again. The leader aimed his weapon wildly. And that's when Daniel did something that shocked everyone. He stepped forward, unarmed, deliberate. He placed himself between the gun and the employees. "You don't want to fire that," he said quietly. "Because once you do, this ends badly for everyone, including you." For a split second, time froze. Then the gun lowered. The robbers fled through a side exit moments before police swarmed the building. No hostages harmed, no shots fired after their entry. No lives lost. News spread within hours. Janitor prevents corporate tragedy. Unarmed hero talks down armed robbers. Videos from employee phones went viral. The world saw Daniel's calm face, heard his steady voice guiding terrified workers. Reporters uncovered his past. The former officer who disappeared from public life. The negotiator who carried guilt like a shadow. When asked why he stepped forward, Daniel simply said, "Because someone had to." Evelyn couldn't sleep that night. She replayed every moment. The fear in her employees' eyes. Daniel's courage. Her own paralysis. For years, she had measured worth by productivity, by titles, by revenue generated per quarter. But the man who saved her company, the man who saved her life, was someone she had never invited into a boardroom. The following week, she called an all-hands meeting. Employees filled the auditorium, still shaken but united by survival. Evelyn stood at the podium, her usual armor gone. "I built this company believing strength meant control," she began. "Last Thursday, I learned strength is something else entirely." She invited Daniel onto the stage. The applause began slowly, then roared like thunder. Evelyn announced the creation of the Ruiz Initiative, a company-funded program providing mental health support and career transition opportunities for veterans and first responders. Daniel would lead it. Tears filled his eyes. "I'm just a janitor," he whispered to her. "No," Evelyn replied softly. "You're a leader." Over the following months, Daniel's story traveled across continents. Corporations invited him to speak about crisis leadership. Universities studied his negotiation tactics. But what moved people most wasn't his bravery, it was his humility. He often said, "Calm is contagious. So is courage." Evelyn changed too. She began walking the halls each morning, greeting employees by name. She created open forums where interns could speak freely. Productivity didn't fall as she once feared, it soared. Because people who feel seen work differently. They care differently. One evening, months after the robbery, Evelyn found Daniel again in the quiet hallway. He was still pushing his cart sometimes, by choice. "You could have left," she said. Daniel smiled. "This place gave me a second chance." She shook her head gently. "You gave us ours." The story ends not with fame, not with headlines, but with a simple truth: the greatest heroes often wear no titles. They walk past us every day. They mop floors, hold doors, whisper encouragement when we think no one notices. The world was shocked by what Daniel did during that robbery. But maybe the real shock is this: we all have that calm inside us. We all have the power to step forward when it matters most. So the next time you see someone the world overlooks, remember this story. And ask yourself, if the moment came, would you remain calm? If this story moved you, if it reminded you that courage lives in ordinary people, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes, the stories that change us most are the ones about the people we almost failed to see.